Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. This one's a little bit of a surprise episode for me. We had tried to book this place back when the minute the booking opened about 4 or 5 months beforehand, and everything was gone in about 5 seconds. But Holly persevered. She found us some last minute cancellations while we were on the road. Holly, where are we headed?
So we're leaving the coast, heading back inland in California, and heading to a beautiful spot with waterfalls and lots of hiking. We're going to Yosemite National Park. In this episode, we're going to cover about 260 miles. We're going to go from Santa Cruz through the valley to Yosemite and through the Tioga Pass and back into Nevada.
So our first stop was San Juan Bautista, and a bunch of random facts about this place. It was first a Spanish mission established way back at the end of the 1700s. It's also known as a place where a good portion of Alfred Hitchcock's film Vertigo was filmed. And it's also known as the place where some of the survivors of the Donner Party ended up. And we're not done talking about the Donner Party just yet. They're going to come up in a future episode, but I mention them now just to whet your appetite.
About halfway to Yosemite, we stopped at a Harvest Toast. This is a subscription that we have, and we can stay at a number of kind of enterprises like farms, wineries, breweries. We select them from their app and put a couple dates and ask them if we can stay. The stays are free, but it's expected that you buy something. So we stopped at this winery, beautiful place, beautiful location, really quiet. Nobody was around. The tastings were done for the day, but we were able to still purchase a couple bottles of wine. It was a super nice spot, good layover on our way to Yosemite.
Well, there was one character around, and that was the resident cat who immediately befriended us and hung out at our campsite all evening with us, as you can see here. This is also why my phone is out of space. It's just full of cat videos and cat pictures. So the next morning we get up, and first thing we made sure there were no cats in the van, that he was remaining at the winery. And we headed on into Yosemite. After checking out a little bit of the Yosemite history and some of the buildings there, we rolled up to our campsite at Wawona Campground in sort of the southwest end of things.
And then we went to bed early, planned an early morning to get to the valley part of Yosemite Park. This is the most popular and where most of the tourists go. We wanted to ensure that we got a parking spot. So we arrived in the valley at 7:10 and parking was already filling up, but we managed to get a spot and we spent the day in the valley.
So we started off there with the Mist Trail. This takes you up to a couple of really cool waterfalls, and it's aptly named. You can see the mist in some of the footage here that lands on you as you climb the steps. So we got first to Vernal Falls, and then on up to Nevada Falls, and back around in kind of a loop on a bit of a John Muir Trail. And that was about 15 kilometers total. So a little montage of that for you here.
After our hike, we went back to the van and set up the bikes and we did a little bike tour around the valley. We saw the famous Yosemite Falls. We didn't climb up, we just did the kind of out to the lower falls. Super crowded, huge crowds. It was still neat to see the falls and we could still feel the mist off them. It is the actual, when you combine the lower and the upper, it is a full waterfall and it's the highest waterfall in North America. So that was pretty cool. And biking through kind of some of the valley and the exhibits and stuff was really neat. And then we jumped back in the van, and as we're headed out of the valley, we stopped for some of the other sites. We saw, for example, the famous El Capitan. It is quite an experience to be looking at that wall of rock and imagining climbers climbing that. It is it's pretty crazy. The pictures don't really do it justice.
That night we rolled into Hodgdon Campground, which is further up in the park. And the next morning we get up, Pulled off at a couple of pullouts and caught some views of folks hiking Half Dome, which is a pretty big hike. It's one that we had considered trying to get in on, but it is a long day. It is an arduous hike, and you can just barely see here through my monocular some shots of folks climbing up the chains at the tail end of that to get to the top of Half Dome. So still neat to see it from a distance. After that, around 1 p.m. that day, we got ourselves into the Inyo National Forest and found ourselves the last of a first come, first serve available campsite. There at about 1 p.m., we rolled in and snagged a spot. This was a chance to just sit and relax, take in the views, catch up on some YouTube videos, and enjoy our first mosquitoes of the trip as well. If you go back and watch the episode on Zion, I think it's episode 25, that's where we recorded some of the intro pieces for that video, and you can just see the flies buzzing around our heads. So a little bit of getting used to that. Nothing like Manitoba, but still, first bugs of the trip.
It was pretty bad. It was weird because it was really high elevations, the Tioga Pass. I think we were almost at 10,000 feet.
Yeah, about 9,000.
Yeah, our bug zapper stopped working. We didn't know if that was because of the elevation or not. But it was really pretty and kind of neat being up there. But I think it was just had warmed up and the bugs had just hatched. So we were the first kind of food they had they had in a while.
That brings us around to our statistics for this episode. First up, as Holly mentioned, Yosemite Falls, the highest waterfall in North America at 4,425 feet.
And we've done 16 national parks in the USA now.
Now, we have moved out of prime alien abduction territory, which is more in sort of the New Mexico area, and we were not abducted, so that's sort of the first big disappointment of the trip. However, we are headed into prime Bigfoot territory, so we remain excited and quite confident for that. Stick around, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Will we find Bigfoot? That's still to come.
Next up, we have 2 bike episodes. But stay tuned, they're really scenic. First off, we head to Lake Tahoe and we do the famous Flume Trail, which is probably the most scenic ride I've ever done. And then we head to Downeyville, which is a classic bike ride in the mountain bike community.
Now, in both of those episodes, we actually took a shuttle to the top with a van and then just rode down, which made it much more comfortable, much easier. You've got it even easier. All you need to do is hit like and subscribe, and you can ride along. Make sure to do that. We'll see you soon.